Hey everyone, we're going to be talking about how to construct one of these. It is a Octabox. This one's from GODOX, or GODOX, I believe is the way you have to say it. If you've ever gotten one of these, they come in like a little pack like this, and the first time you put it together might be a bit daunting because it's a load of poles and wires and things. But before we get into that, we're going to look at a couple of different examples of softboxes. We're going to look into a couple of other examples of softboxes, more premium options, I would say. First one from a very popular company, Aperture. This is a Light Dome Mark II, and the reason why this is really good is because it has a very quick setup and takedown time. Basically at the top here are a load of little pins. If we want to, let's say for example, put it down, go all the way around. You know, it's all collapsed up really quickly and amazing. This is not the case with the previous example. It takes a lot longer to put up and down. But these are super cool. All you gotta do to put it together is then pull on all of these little rods till they click into place. And then just fix the Velcro on the back and then we're done. So this is a really great option. It's not massive though, and you might want a bigger softbox, and there are bigger softboxes available, but they're not from Aperture, so we'll get rid of this one. Don't worry, they're really resilient, so that's what was great about the products, you know, they're really strong, they don't break, so you can actually throw them around like that. The other option, this is one of my favorites. This is one from Salons. This is 105 centimeters, and as you notice, the size difference is actually quite significant in terms of this is quite shallow. We'll go into those kind of traits of soft boxes in a different video. But this one, instead of a lot of quick disconnect like switches around the top here, inside is the mechanism to open and close it. So if we rip off the front, like that, it is actually possible to put it together and take it apart with the front and this inside bit still attached. But for this demonstration, I'll just take them out. Okay, so with the Salons, we basically have this middle part here. Looks a bit like a bicycle wheel. And then there's this quick release button here. If we press this, it's gonna spring forward and collapse. So just be careful if you're doing this. It does come out quite fast. There you go. And then it's collapsed. And to put it together, a little bit more tricky. You have to get this part here to align with this part, and you push it through and then it will secure. But I've seen people try and do this for the first time and it was like, am I gonna break the light? I don't know. But actually, don't worry, you know, these things are built to last. Like, so it's gonna be very unlikely that you break it. So you push it down, but usually you wanna do this on the floor. If you align these parts together, boom, it is done. And then you'd go and reattach everything on there. So going back to the GODOX example that we have here, it's not actually that much smaller than the Salons. It's not as big, but it's not too far off, and it's very shallow. But the reason why I'd pick the Salons over this one every time is because this one takes ages to put together. And if you've never put one together before, it is quite daunting. There are a lot of wires, and I would say these are harder to put together than everything else. So let's take it apart and start from the beginning. So these are all the parts that you're gonna get in your little bag, which comes with your GODOX Softbox like setup or pack. This is the most important part, which is the mount. This is a Bowens mount, as you can see by the three like tabs here. Very popular industry standard mount. All the light features that we have in the studio are all Bowens mount. So loads of flexibility, you can change from different lights. So really love Bowens mount stuff. You're gonna have your rods. We have 8 rods here because we have an Octabox. If we were doing just like a Stripbox or a Softbox, we might use 4 because a box has 4 corners and an octagon has 8. Maths. Then we have this part, which is like the reflector kind of container thing. Don't really know what to call it, but the reflective part. Let's just call it the reflective part for now. We have this, which is the inside. It makes the light more diffused. by giving it an extra layer to go through. This goes on the inside. You could call this like a baffle or something like that. We have the main diffuser part, which goes on the outside of the light. Very large to make it nice and soft, and this is quite thick, so it's quite diffused. You can get different strengths of these on different types of soft boxes. Not on this one, it's quite basic, but some ones like the Aperture, you get different strengths to make different light qualities. And then you have this, which just closes up the hole at the back of the softbox. A lot of lights actually have this built in already on here. So first we need to take this mount and work out how many holes we're going to use. Because this is an Octabox, we need 8 holes. And you can see there's a lot more than 8 holes around the outside of this mount. This is because this is like a universal mount, which they use for lots of different ones. So if you have like a hexagon shaped box, you'd use 6 holes. If you're just doing a box set, you use 4. An Octabox, we use 8. So you need to kind of look at it and like visually work out which holes you're going to put the rods into. I would recommend actually using a pen and drawing on, if you're only using this with an Octabox, that mark the holes that you're going to use for an 8 box and mark them for 6 or 4 depending on your use. To make it easier for this example, I'm going to put some little sticky circles on here to show you how many holes we're going to use. We're going to go with, well, yeah, we're going to go with red because we only have 8 red stickers, no other colors. We're going to start with this one, which has got 1 and 3 on it. It's going to be our first one. If we go clockwise, we're going to pick this one, which doesn't have a number on it. And we just place them around like this, and it will be equidistant. Now, like I said, I'd use a pen, but after you work out which ones you're going to use, so you don't make any mistakes, because if you draw on the wrong ones, then yeah, then you've ruined it. There you go. So these are the 8 holes that we're going to use. If we were going to put 6 on, like for a hexagon shaped box, we'd use these holes. So I hope that's helpful. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people usually make when they're putting these together. They'll get either 2 holes too close together and then the box won't quite go on. So this is probably the most useful tip in this video. Mark out which holes you're going to put the rods into. Well, now it's time to put it together. So we're going to take our reflective part here, this, I guess the soft material part, and we're going to place it round the mount. You might want to do this on the floor, you can do this on the table, up to you. Take your first rod and we're going to find one of the fabric tabs which align with one of our red circles. So let's pick this one right here. Now these are little fabric tabs and they have a hole in it, and it's lined with like a kind of, not Velcro substance, but it gives you a little bit of resistance. What I like to do is if you just squeeze the sides, the hole should open up. If it doesn't, you can use like a pen, or if you're really careful, you could probably use like a blunt knife or something with a pointy end, and just open it up a little bit more. If it opens up quite nicely like this, then you can just put the end of the rod in. It doesn't matter which end you put in, which is good. They're both the same. So let's put our first one in. Hey presto. Pick our first red hole. And there we go. And there we go, we're 1/8 of the way there. They do like to fall out at this stage. The first few ones will want to fall out because it's not being held by the fabric. Eventually, the fabric will bend up into the right shape. So let's take the second rod. Let's pick the one next to it. You can just bounce it against your body if you want to stop it from moving. Squeeze the sides, insert the pole, find the next red hole, put it in. At the moment, this is super easy. But now we're going to go to the other side because we want a little bit of tension or like pull from the fabric to hold these in. So let's take our third one. Let's locate, maybe, let's take this one, which is opposite our first one. You don't have to use that one, but this is what I'm going to do for this. So locate our fabric tab, which should be this one. Give it a little squeeze, put in the rod. And now this is where you're going to need some strength because these rods are they're bendy, but they'll make you work hard to get this in. So don't worry, you're not going to break it. Like, you can bend it like this. So let's put it in here. Okay, now this looks like a mess, but if we pull on the fabric or push this down, it should pop into a kind of shape. Well, better than it did before. So let's take our next rod. We can literally put it in anything now, any of the holes. So may as well do this one as it's right next to me. So squeeze, put the end in. Every single rod you put in is gonna get harder. So get it into this red hole here. And in. We're getting there, look at this. The progress being made. Amazing. Let's move around to this one now. Slot it in. find the lining hole. Oh, this one's a little bit harder. There we go. This is incredible. Next one. Squeeze the sides, insert it, and then into the red dotted hole. Second to last one. Squeeze the sides, insert the pole. If you notice, I'm holding the mount and then bending the pole with my wrist to get that flex in it. This is the best way I've found to put these together. You shouldn't be scared about breaking the rods. They're going to be very hard to break. So these are getting harder now because the fabric is really resisting it. But that's what holds this shape really nice and tight. Last one, in the tab. Hold the mount, give it a nice bend, line up with that red dot. And there we go. We have our Octabox mainly complete. So what's next? We should put in our internal baffle part, which you'll notice these Velcro tabs on the inside are for this. You find a way the stitching faces and the fabric faces and the Velcro faces inside. So line up the Velcro all nice and neat. So make your way around, just like connect all these Velcro tabs together. There we go. Our inner baffle part is attached. So let's attach the front diffuser part. And you notice that they all have little points of the corners. So if you just align them all up, you can't go wrong. And for this design, it seems you need to pull them over the corners and there's a little Velcro part in the middle. It may differ for your design. So just work your way around, connect all the corners up and the little Velcro parts on the outside of the reflector part. And there we go. Amazing. The last part is we have to cover this hole because if we don't, we fire the light into here, a lot of it's going to reflect off this internal baffle and come out the back, and we don't want that to happen. So let's attach the last part, which is this. Just line up the corners and work your way around. And there we go. One constructed GODOX Softbox. Depending on your situation, if you have a studio, you probably want to leave this up like this all the time. If you're going to travel around with one of these, it's going to take you a lot of time to keep taking it apart, putting it back together again. So I would recommend buying one of the alternatives like the Aperture or the Cellens, which open and close way quicker. Doing this every time you go on set is just going to be very tiresome for you. It's way easier just to use one of those quick setup ones. If you find at this point when you put it on the light that the front just spins and you can't tighten it down, that's because on the inside there is a knob that you need to tighten. So if I take this back part off here, this is the knob you need to tighten to stop this Bowens mount from rotating like this. So just find your desired position and give it a few turns. And there you have it, it is done. So hopefully you've learned how to put an Octabox together. We're just gonna do one more real quick run through with a small GODOX Stripbox. So for the Stripbox, it's a little different. So because it's only 4 and the shape is not like a square, it's a rectangle. So we need to pick certain holes in this to make sure it's the right shape. So what we're gonna go for are these holes here. This is the most rectangular kind of setup you can get. And inside the reflector as well, there's these very small tabs, which you should run the rods through as well. Okay, so let's start with this corner. Let's take a rod and we're gonna have to run it through that tab before we can put it into the corner. So let's pass the rod through and then into the corner and then insert it into the first hole. Because this is a smaller box, it's going to be a lot tighter, so make sure the Velcro at the back is undone to give you the maximum flexibility in the fabric. So let's go for one next to it. Same thing, squeeze and push through and then into the corner and then into this hole here. Now this side is done, so time to get the other side. And after we get the third one in, it's going to get much, much tighter. To the inside and into the corner and into the first hole. And then last one, into the corner. And there we go. And there we go, the softbox is put together. We do have the other parts which come with the other one as well, which is this inside baffle. It's a different design. Instead of going onto Velcro, it has little hooks. So go ahead and attach these little hooks to these elastic tabs here. That's the inside part installed. And now, last two parts. Make sure to attach this diffusing panel on the inside line of the Velcro because we also have a very handy grid. And if you want to attach that, it needs Velcro on the outside edge. So start from a corner and work your way around. And last but not least, the grid. I like to do the short sides first and then make sure to get all those nice squares nicely, equally sized and shaped. And there you have it, a finished small strip box. I really like this size of strip box, it's perfect for a backlight like this. Nice and soft, but contains the light so it doesn't spread everywhere, it doesn't get into the camera. This is a little 90 centimeter box. This is the smallest one I could get, but they also do much larger ones like this, which same style, but much larger rods. So I haven't got the diffusing panel on this part, just the grid. But yeah, I hope this video was helpful in terms of how to put these together because I have seen friends struggle trying to put these together for the first time. These rods can be very stiff and it can be a bit daunting because you might think, I'm gonna break it, I might rip something, I might ruin it. Share this video with someone who might have purchased one of these and doesn't know how to put them together. If this was helpful, please like the video and also comment down below if you want me to explain anything else that you might be struggling with. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you need a studio to rent in Seoul, South Korea, please follow our Instagram @ThereForYou and you can rent this beautiful studio with all the equipment included. See ya.